The meeting in New Delhi brought renewed focus to the evolving energy relationship between Russia and India as Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived for talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The visit, held against a backdrop of shifting global energy markets and ongoing geopolitical realignments, underscored Moscow's continued effort to solidify its role as a major supplier of resources to one of the world's fastest-growing economies. During the encounter, Putin delivered a clear assurance that Russia intends to maintain uninterrupted flows of oil and other energy commodities to India, a message aimed at reinforcing long-term reliability in a sector critical to both nations. In remarks recorded during the session, Putin stated that Russia reliably supplies oil, gas, coal and everything else needed for India's energy development. We are ready to continue uninterrupted oil deliveries to India's rapidly growing economy. The comments were issued as a formal on-camera soundbite, emphasizing Moscow's position that its energy trade with India remains resilient, stable and strategically important. His reference to reliable supplies highlights Russia's broader push to reassure key partners amid fluctuating global conditions, sanctions pressures and competition for energy markets. The meeting itself reflects how India and Russia have continued to deepen their economic cooperation over recent years, particularly in energy. India, which remains heavily dependent on imports to meet its domestic energy needs, has significantly increased its purchases of Russian crude since global trade flows were reshaped by international sanctions and market disruptions. Moscow, facing restricted access to several Western markets, has redirected much of its oil exports toward Asia, with India emerging as a major destination. Putin's explicit assurance of supply continuity suggests a mutual recognition that the energy partnership has become central to their current bilateral relationship. The discussion in New Delhi also occurred at a time when global oil markets are responding to changes in production patterns, shipping routes, and long-term planning among major exporters and importers. India's demand continues to grow as its population and industrial sectors expand, making stable energy flows essential to sustaining economic growth. Putin's comments appear designed to affirm that Russia intends to remain a dependable supplier despite international pressures and logistical challenges. From India's perspective, maintaining diverse and stable sources of crude oil supports both energy security and cost management, which remain priorities for policymakers in New Delhi. Putin's emphasis on reliability also illustrates a broader Russian messaging strategy in its engagements with non-Western partners. By highlighting energy commitments directly, Moscow demonstrates that it views India not only as a consumer, but as a strategic partner capable of influencing regional and global energy landscapes. The statement that Russia provides everything else needed for India's energy development reaffirms ongoing cooperation beyond oil, including in coal shipments, natural gas arrangements, and potential future ventures involving nuclear and renewables cooperation, areas that have been part of past bilateral frameworks. The exchange between Putin and Modi also signals the political dimensions often intertwined with energy deals. India has taken a pragmatic approach to its foreign policy, maintaining multiple partnerships without aligning exclusively with any single geopolitical bloc. Its continued purchase of Russian oil, even as Western nations impose restrictions on Moscow, has drawn international attention but remains consistent with India's long-standing policy of strategic autonomy. Putin's remarks effectively acknowledge this by framing Russia's role as supportive of India's development priorities. In doing so, he reinforces the notion that energy cooperation remains insulated from broader geopolitical tensions. The visit serves as another milestone in a series of high-level interactions between the two countries in recent years. While both sides engage on topics ranging from defence cooperation to trade diversification, energy remains a core pillar that binds the partnership. India's refiners have become crucial customers for Russian crude, benefiting from competitive pricing and consistent delivery volumes. The operational dimensions of these flows, spanning maritime logistics, insurance arrangements and payment channels, have required continuous coordination, and Putin's assurances suggest confidence from Moscow that these mechanisms will remain functional in the foreseeable future. The framing of uninterrupted supply is also relevant in light of global oil price volatility. Periodic disruptions in supply chains, regional security tensions, and shifts in demand create uncertainty for many importing countries. By stating that Russia is prepared to maintain steady deliveries, Putin positions Moscow as a stabilizing force within India's energy calculations. This allows India to plan ahead with greater predictability and reduces vulnerability to sudden market shocks. At the same time, Russia benefits from a reliable market that supports revenue streams and facilitates long-term economic planning. New Delhi has repeatedly highlighted the importance of affordable energy for sustaining economic expansion, and Russian crude imports have become a significant factor in this equation. The commercial terms offered by Moscow in recent years have strengthened the economic incentives for Indian refiners. Putin's comments align with this context, presenting Russia as both a practical and strategic partner prepared to meet India's growing needs. For Moscow, maintaining strong ties with India also aids its broader strategy of building durable partnerships across Asia as it faces continued political and economic constraints in the West. The tone of Putin's remarks suggests an intention to reassure not only policymakers but also markets and observers who track the evolving dynamics of global energy trade. By highlighting the reliability of Russian supplies, he implicitly addresses concerns about disruptions stemming from sanctions, maritime restrictions, or broader geopolitical uncertainties. His reference to India's rapidly growing economy serves as an acknowledgement of India's expanding role in global energy consumption and its rising influence in shaping demand patterns. This framing reinforces the perception that Moscow views India as a key component of its long-term energy export strategy. Although the discussion captured in the raw material focuses specifically on oil and energy supplies, it fits into a larger pattern of Russian engagement with partners seeking stable, long-term arrangements. Energy cooperation historically forms a significant portion of Russia's international economic relations, and the emphasis on uninterrupted delivery represents continuity with Moscow's long-standing narrative of providing consistent supply to trusted partners. India, positioned as an essential market with increasing requirements, fits naturally into this framework. Putin's comments therefore reflect both a reaffirmation of existing policy and an effort to strengthen ongoing collaboration. The meeting also underscores the diplomatic significance of high-level engagements in reinforcing economic commitments. The presence of both leaders highlights the political weight attached to energy cooperation and signals continuity in bilateral relations. While the raw soundbite provided is succinct, its placement within a high-visibility meeting gives it broader diplomatic resonance. For India, the direct assurance from Russia's head of state provides an added layer of confidence in planning for future energy transitions. For Russia, it offers a platform to demonstrate that its international partnerships remain robust despite political headwinds. The remarks also come at a time when India continues to balance multiple energy relationships. While it has increased imports from Russia, it also maintains ties with major suppliers in the Middle East, Africa, and North America. Putin's declaration seeks to ensure that Russia remains a central component of India's diversification strategy. By emphasizing reliability and readiness to deliver without interruption, Moscow is reinforcing its competitive position in a crowded global marketplace. India's approach of securing economically favorable and logistically reliable supplies aligns with this message, creating a convergence of interests between the two nations. One notable dimension of the interaction is the clarity and simplicity of the official quote. By stating directly that Russia is ready to continue uninterrupted deliveries, Putin removed ambiguity and left little room for misinterpretation regarding Moscow's intentions. Such explicit assurances can influence market expectations and contribute to strategic planning by both governments and industry actors. This directness is consistent with other recent messages from Moscow aimed at communicating stability within the Russian energy sector despite external pressures. The emphasis on reliability remains central to sustaining Russia's role as a major exporter. The broader context around the meeting is marked by ongoing adjustments in global energy trade patterns. As some importers reduce their reliance on Russian supplies, others have increased theirs, reshaping traditional flows of oil and gas. India's growing demand and expanding refining capacity create opportunities that Russia aims to capitalize on, and Putin's remarks appear aligned with this reality. With global markets adjusting to new norms, the assurance of steady supply plays an important role in stabilizing bilateral trade structures. New Delhi's willingness to engage actively with diverse suppliers reflects its strategy of minimizing uncertainty and maximizing economic benefit. India's interest in maintaining steady supplies extends beyond crude oil. It continues to evaluate a wide range of energy options, including natural gas, coal, nuclear power, and renewable sources. Russia's mention of supplying oil, gas, coal, and everything else needed for India's energy development highlights that the relationship is not limited to a single commodity. While the immediate focus remains on oil, broader cooperation in energy has historically been part of their bilateral agenda. Putin's wording reinforces that energy ties can expand along multiple fronts based on India's growing demand and Russia's capacity to supply, with India positioning itself as a major driver of future global growth. Long-term energy stability remains a cornerstone of its planning. Russia's declaration of readiness to continue supplying energy reflects an understanding of this trajectory. By highlighting India's rapidly growing economy, Putin acknowledges the scale of future demand and the potential for sustained collaboration. For Moscow, strengthening ties with India aligns with its objective of securing markets that can support long-term export volumes. The meeting in New Delhi therefore serves both economic and strategic functions. The significance of the soundbite lies not only in its content but also in its timing. As global markets monitor supply disruptions and political realignments, the reassurance from Moscow contributes to a sense of continuity for one of Asia's largest economies. For India, dependable access to energy underpins manufacturing growth, transport demand, and broader economic goals. The explicit assurance of uninterrupted delivery supports these objectives and adds predictability to policy and market planning. It also reinforces India's ability to negotiate from a position of confidence within the international energy system. Russia, meanwhile, benefits from maintaining strong energy partnerships with countries that continue to engage openly with its markets. The statement about reliable supplies aligns with Moscow's broader diplomatic efforts aimed at reinforcing the resilience of its export infrastructure. The connection with India remains one of the most economically significant relationships within this strategy. Putin's words are therefore intended to reassure not only Indian leaders but also stakeholders who observe Russia's evolving position in global markets. The reaffirmation of supply continuity contributes to the narrative that Russia is able to meet its obligations despite sanctions and geopolitical constraints. The meeting in New Delhi illustrates how energy diplomacy continues to shape international relationships. By emphasizing uninterrupted supplies, Russia signals that it remains committed to the long-term stability of its trade with India. India, which has consistently sought to leverage multiple partnerships to secure its energy future, benefits from the clarity of Moscow's message. The practical implications are important for industry, policy, and markets, all of which rely on predictable flows of crude and other resources. Putin's remarks directly support this need for consistency. As the session concluded, the central message remained clear. Russia intends to continue delivering energy resources to India without interruption. The direct quote, issued during Putin's appearance alongside Prime Minister Modi, reaffirms a long-standing partnership that has adapted to new global realities. The assurance reflects both economic intent and strategic alignment, underscoring the durability of the relationship at a time of rapid change in global energy markets. Russia's stated commitment to uninterrupted oil supplies stands as the defining point of the meeting, reinforcing the stability of its energy partnership with India as both nations continue to navigate an evolving international landscape.